Ask a business person why they got into business. Most of the time, you will hear someone say, I got into business because I love this product or this service. But a real successful entrepreneur.
Welcome to the Raw and Real podcast. Are you dreaming of changing your life through opening a business? Or are you curious what obstacles entrepreneurs had to overcome on their journey? Then you're in the right place. My name is Agnes Billig and I'm your host. Are you currently looking for a more fulfilling job? You want to start your own business, blog, YouTube channel, or just get your portfolio out there? It all starts with creating your own website and choosing the right hosting provider. Hosting is kind of like the home for your website and the whole infrastructure behind it. And with Bluehost, you get a free domain for the first year. You can install WordPress with just one click, which means that it's super easy. You don't need to write any code. You can create anything you want with customizable templates. So get started now and click on the link in the description below. So just again, click on the link in the description below and get started now. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Raw and Real. Today's guest on the show is David Neagle. He's the founder of the multi-million coaching company called Life is Now and the author of the amazing book, The Millions Within. Thank you so much for joining me, David. I'm really excited to talk to you.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Always. So first, I wanted to dive a little bit into your story. I thought you can tell us a little bit about your background and how you started your career.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. It's interesting because I had a real amazing thing happen in my life when I was younger that prompted me to go from a person who did not want to study anything, really. I was a terrible student, quit high school when I was 17 years old, to being so fascinated with what happened in my life that I really needed to know. I needed answers. I really needed to know why I experienced what I experienced. So in general, here's what happened. I kind of had a dysfunctional childhood. Now, I wouldn't say it was horrible, but it was dysfunctional enough that I was really kind of on the wrong track in life. Quit high school at 17, didn't have any skills, got married young, had a couple of children, and the only thing I could really do was drive a truck or work on a dock driving a forklift, and that's what I was doing. And the problem that I got myself into was that I had more responsibilities, especially financially, than I had the ability to take care of. It caused me to go bankrupt, had my car repossessed, had to leave an apartment in the middle of the night because I couldn't pay for it anymore, take my family, move 60 miles away in a place that was really not a great neighborhood or a great place to be bringing up a family. And it was like everything was going down. It was getting worse. Life was getting worse. I was getting in trouble at work. I couldn't find a way to advance. I was making with all the overtime that I worked and basically my second job on the weekends, I could make about 20,000 a year. And, I could not figure out how to get to 40. I kept thinking to myself, my God, if I could just get to 40,000, my whole life would change.
Yeah.
So I would sit down and try to figure it out. Like I would go on my lunch breaks and I would take a pen and a paper and a calculator. And even with the raises that I would get, it would take me about 30 years to get to 40,000. It wasn't very inspirational. So
how did you keep going in this time? Because I can imagine that you just lose hope and don't have any drive if you're in that situation because things just kind of keep getting worse.
Well, I think I kept going because I had a family. I had two very young children at home to take care of. And if it wasn't for that, I probably would have walked away from everything. I don't know what I would have done, but to answer the question, I think it was because I had responsibilities and I really wanted to do better. I just didn't know how to do better. So there were two things that happened in short succession. One was that I went water skiing with my family one weekend on a Saturday. It was the Illinois River in Marseilles, Illinois. And I got separated from the boat and I got sucked through a dam. So that whole thing, like that story alone could take a half an hour. So I won't go into the whole story. But what happened was I lived, I got hurt, I broke my back, I recovered from that, and I went back to work. I was 23 years old when that happened. And what it really did was it woke me up to the idea that we're not going to live forever. So when you're 23, I mean, you don't think about death, right? You think you're invincible. It's really not in your consciousness. I also felt that I lived for going through that for a reason. I was only one of two people at the time that ever survived going through that dam, and the other guy was paraplegic. After he got hurt so bad, he was a paraplegic. But every year, people would go through that dam and die, and they were like, "You're so lucky. Somebody's watching over you. You lived," and I started to believe it. Like there's a reason. There's a reason for me being here. So I think I got some sense of purpose, although I didn't know what the purpose was, but I felt like it was almost like keep going. There's a reason you're here. So I'm working along, and nothing's changing. Like absolutely nothing's changing. So one night, after I got disciplined twice at work, I was exhausted. I was having all kinds of problems. I just broke down, crying in the back of this trailer. And I was like, God, please show me something, anything. I have no idea what to do. Like I'm at my wit's end. I have absolutely no idea what to do. And this voice in my head said, change your attitude. And it sounded really stupid. Like it sounded so stupid to me. How is changing my attitude going to change anything at all? But I started to think about it, and I realized that I had been hearing it all of my life. Like when I would get in trouble at school when I was a kid, they would bring my dad in, and the teachers would say, David's a pretty smart guy. If he would change his attitude, he would probably get better grades. He would do better in school. And I would go home, and my parents would say, change your attitude. And then they would send me to my room and ground me from one report card to another. And it never worked. Like nothing ever changed. But
Yeah.
nobody ever really took me and said, okay, here's the things that you need to change. Here's how you change them. We'll help you every step of the way. They just didn't know, So it was kind of like go to your room and study. Well, that didn't work for me. So I started working on this attitude thing, and I found three things that I said I was going to change. The first thing was that I recognized I hated what I did. And I was looking at the owner of the company that I worked for, and I thought, this guy built this company from the ground up. He must have loved what he was doing. I'm going to act like I love what I do. So that was the first thing. The second thing was, I thought, because the guy started, he had the largest food importer company in the United States at that time, and the story was that he started it in his garage. So I thought, he must have done really well at what he did. He must have worked really hard, done really well. And I wasn't doing that. So I thought, okay, I'm going to do everything to the best of my ability. And the third thing was I was going to treat everybody with total respect because I wasn't doing that either. So I decided, here's three things I'm going to do. I'm going to do them every day, all day, and I'll do it for a year and I'll see what happens. And then I can evaluate from there.
And how did you manage to change? Because you hated that job, and how did you manage to get up suddenly the next day and love it and to
I
convince
pretended.
yourself?
I pretended. I literally pretended. Yeah. So what I did was I got up and I thought to myself, okay, how would I act if I loved this job? I'd be excited. I'd be enthusiastic. I'd be fun. I'd be having fun. And I just said, you know what? I'm just going to go in there and I'm going to act like that. That's what I'm going to act like. Like I'm, like everything is great. So that's what I began to do. 30 days later, my income went from 20,000 a year to 62,000 a year. And I was floored. Now, there's a whole story inside of that story, which basically was this. There was an opportunity that had been around me for 2 years that I did not see as an opportunity. It never even crossed my mind that I could go do this for a living and make $62,000 a year. However, the biggest deal about this was the fact that I realized I didn't realize it was an opportunity. And when I changed my attitude, I then saw the opportunity in it. And it literally allowed me to triple my income in 30 days. So I was thinking to myself, how is this even possible? Like, how could it? I'm not stupid. How could there be an opportunity that was right there? It's in my face almost every day. How could I not see that as an opportunity? So I thought, something, I need to study, because if I can figure out what I did to make this increase in income, I could probably do whatever I wanted in life. So that began a period of time of about 7 years that I studied. I went to seminars. I got a mentor. I did all kinds of things like that. But I was only doing three things. I was working, I was taking care of my family, and I was studying. I got rid of all other activities in my life for that period of time.
So you weren't doing anything social, just like studying, taking care, and
No,
nothing else.
nothing, nothing.
And what was really the program that then really impacted your way of thinking and changed something in your perspective?
Well, I think there were a lot of them. But I don't know that there was one program, but it's because here was the thing. This is before the internet, right? So
Mhm.
I had to go to a library or I had to go to a bookstore, and I didn't even know what to look for. I didn't know that there was a self-help section. I don't even know if they literally had a self-help section back then. It might have been like psychology or whatever, but I would find a book here, a book there. But one night I came home because I worked nights. I worked the night shift. When I came home, it was like 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. I got a plate of dinner out of the refrigerator, put it in the microwave, and I'm sit down. I turn the TV on, and here's Tony Robbins. When he first came out, and he was doing his infomercials with personal power tapes. Really young guy. He's with Fran Tarkenton, and it took me 3 nights, but I bought those tapes.
Mhm.
And what I did was I turned my car into a library, basically. So it was books on tape. So I was listening to Tony Robbins every day. I had to drive to work because this new place that I worked was 100 miles away from my house.
That's a long drive.
It was a long drive, exactly. So every day I had to drive 100 miles there, 100 miles home. And I was listening to those tapes the whole way. Now, Tony talked about books, like books that he had read, right, to become successful. I started looking for those books. So that helped me speed it up a little bit because I heard him talk about books. And one of the books that he talked about was Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill. I got Think and Grow Rich. And in the introduction to Think and Grow Rich, well, here, I have it right. This is a newer copy that I have. But in the introduction, this is something that Hill wrote. This really like turned a light bulb on. He said, when opportunity came, it appeared in a different form and from a different direction than he had expected. That's one of the tricks of opportunity. It has the sly habit of slipping in the back door, and it often comes disguised in the form of misfortune or temporary defeat. Perhaps this is why so many people fail to recognize opportunity. And that was the answer to the question I was looking for. Why did I not see this opportunity that was right in front of me? Well, obviously, an opportunity can't disguise itself, but my mind was disguising it. It was seeing it as something that I didn't want. But when I changed my attitude, I now saw the good in something. I saw the possibility in something. So that took me. So all of that, and then I went through lots of different seminars and many many books. And I met my mentor around 1996. In 1999, I started my own business, which is the same company that I own today. And because I was working with a mentor, I was speeding up my progress like really fast. I turned my annual income into a monthly income. I became a multimillionaire in a very short period of time. And then the company, like we're global, we're all over the world. We've got a media company, so it I've been doing this now for 21 years, and I can tell you that if a person takes the hardship in their life and they try to find the gift in it, anything can change in a very short period of time. One of the blessings of all of this was that I seem to have this weird knack for being able to do things very fast. Like once I set
Mhm.
a goal to do something, it would happen really quickly, especially money. So what I did was I took that originally and I started showing business people how they could literally turn their annual income into a monthly income and do it in a really short period of time. So that's kind of like how I got my start, doing it. Now we do, all kinds of business strategy and mindset
Yeah.
strategy with people, but that's how it started.
So what really helped you with the coach? Because you said that really accelerated your growth. So what were the major learnings that you took away from that time?
Well, when I was setting goals by myself, I was doing something that I didn't realize I was doing. I would pick a goal and I would reach the goal, but I was picking goals that I thought that I could accomplish.
Uh-huh.
When I worked with my mentor, he showed me, he's like, what do you really want? And I would pick a goal and he would say, now let me ask you a question. Is that what you really, really want? Or is that just what you think you can accomplish? And I was like, well, what's the difference? He said, if you were 100% sure you wouldn't fail, if you were 100% sure you didn't have to worry about somebody laughing at you, If you were 100% sure you had the resources, would you pick something different? And I stopped and I was like, huh, you know what? I think I would. He's like,
Mhm.
what would you pick? So I wrote it down. And he's like, that's the difference. He said, this is how you make a quantum leap. He said, that's the goal that we're going after. And the goal was a million. The goal was to make a million. So we did it in 2 stages. The first stage was to turn my annual income into a monthly income. At that time, I was making about $50,000 a year. I turned that into $50,000 in a month and then took it over a million after that. And it's never gone backwards. Like, it's never gone backwards. In 20 years, it's never gone backwards.
And back then, when you were earning the 50,000, were you still then a truck driver, or what was your
No.
profession?
And so there's a little gap there. I went to another company. I started off driving a truck. In 7 years, I got promoted all the way through the company to the top of the company. I was in charge of expanding the company across the country. Then I left and started this. So when I started my business now,
Mhm.
at the first little bit of time that I was in there, I was doing about 50,000 a year in sales, right? That's about
Mhm.
what it was.
Yeah.
So it was that 50,000 that I turned into a monthly income.
And what were the thought patterns that you needed to change in order to become that successful and be able to charge that money, and especially to convince people that it would be worth it?
Well, basically everything. I was raised blue collar, lower middle class, probably, and the values of somebody who's raised that way, they're all based in safety. Most people don't realize how much of their mind is based in safety and based in wanting other people to like them and not making mistakes and not getting things wrong and making sure that you have money for a rainy day and all that kind of stuff. So little by little, I had to switch all of it. I think part of as far as like convincing people, I don't know that it was so much convincing them as it was influencing them to see something that they really wanted, you know? So like if I would work with a person who is an entrepreneur, I would say, are you achieving your goals? Are you getting what you want out of
Yeah.
business, out of life? And most of the time they would tell me no. And I would ask them why not? And they couldn't answer me. They didn't know. Like, I don't know. They're like, I have no idea. Sometimes they would say, well, it's the economy or it's a bad sales, this or that.
Not enough
Uh,
clients.
Not
That's
enough
mostly.
clients. Yeah, it's really
Yeah.
hard to get clients. I can't get leads. I'm out of leads, that type of thing. I don't have money to invest, whatever. And I would always go back down to their belief system. And I would say, listen, whatever you have in your life right now is based on your belief system. If you change your belief system, you'll change your results. And they would be like, really? And I'm like, well, think about it, right? Do you really believe that you could? I would say, how much do you want to make? And they would say a million, 10 million, whatever. I'm like, do you
Hmm.
really believe you could do it? And they'd be like, well, I guess not. I'm right. I said, how much do you believe you could do about what I'm making right now? I said, what if I work with you to change that? And in like a very short period of time, say 6 months, I could show you how to turn your annual income into a monthly income. I could actually show them how to do it in 1 month. And so what we did was we generally take people no matter where they are, providing that they have a business, and we have them over their first 7 figures in the first year. And then within a couple of years, it's anywhere from 2 to 5 million, and then beyond that.
And so you mentioned that people mainly don't believe that they can do it, that they can earn that figure. But
Right.
what if, for example, they're in the situation that they just don't get enough clients? So
Well,
how
they
do
don't
you
get
help
enough
them?
because they're not doing enough, right? It's not, when the person says I'm not getting enough clients, okay, great. So what are you doing to get clients?
Hmm.
What are you not doing to get clients? Most people are not even doing the activities every day that lead to more clients and lead to more sales. They're building a website, they're writing copy, they're talking to people. They're not actually doing things that matter. And if you have them double down on the things that matter, you find that their results increase very, very rapidly.
Uh-huh.
But most people avoid it. They really do.
Yeah. And
Here's an interesting thing.
yeah.
Ask a business person why they got into business. Most of the time, you will hear someone say, I got into business because I love this product or this service. But a real successful entrepreneur will tell you they got into business because they love business. It's a very different mindset. If you don't love the business of what you do, you're most certainly going to fail or not really achieve very much at all.
So you mean you really gotta love to have these sales conversations and close people?
Yeah. Yeah. Every day. Sales has to happen every day, like breathing, right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
if you don't have sales, this is what I say, that a day without sales is a day you're out of business,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Yeah. There's nothing more important than the sales. If the sales stop, nothing else matters.
Yeah. And how can we like change the subconscious mind and the belief system to become better at that and prioritize sales? Because like you say, a lot of people don't, and they get in business because they, for example, love the product, but they're not good in sales.
Okay. First thing is you set a goal that you really want, because you're not going to work hard enough if you set a goal that you don't want, right? It needs to be something that is inspiring. You set a goal that you want. You then determine, and that goal should also include how much money you want to make. That then is then broken down into activities, right? So now it becomes a math problem. How much are you charging? How many units do you need to sell of whatever it is in order to reach the goal? Then it's broken down into how much of that activity has to be done on a daily basis based on the date that I'm setting the goal to be achieved by in order to do it. Now, if you do this every single day, and you allow yourself to stay in the right mindset, which is I'm being of service, right? Sales is about helping other people. It's not something you do to them, it's something you do for them. You're going to help other people. You're watching the new results come in. And as you get this is very important. You have to see yourself getting the new results, because if you don't, your mind won't accept it as a belief.
Mm-hmm.
You're not creating a new belief, you're replacing an old one. And there's a very big difference.
And what if someone doesn't see the results after, let's say, 2 weeks? Because that can be quite demotivating.
Yeah, so that's a very good point. A matter of fact, it's a huge problem actually, because when a person first starts off, they're getting more verification that they're going to lose than they're actually going to win.
Yeah.
So this is one of the reasons why a person should have a coach or a mentor, right? Because if they don't have the internal fortitude to do it themselves, to realize it's just a result, I just need to keep tweaking, testing, working on my skill set. A lot of people don't have that. If you have it, great, then it won't be a problem. If you don't have that, you really need to have a coach or a mentor to work with you, to not only help you with your skill set of sales getting better, but also to keep you accountable to what you need to do every single day, so that you get until you get the result that you're looking for.
Mm-hmm. And when you start working with your clients, what are some of the questions that you ask to assess where their blockages are and to find out, what they have to work on?
So I ask them, what do you want? And I stay with that question until I'm really certain I'm getting the emotional answer. Like, what do you really want? Like, don't tell me, what you think you could do. Don't tell me about mediocrity. Tell me what you really want. The next question I ask them is, why do you think you're not getting it? What is your thought? Now, I have no agenda with that question, but it tells me something very important based on how they answer that question. If they say, I'm not getting it because
currently, I think, the economy would be a very common answer.
Yeah. If they answer anything outside of I know it's me, if it's the economy, if it's the virus, whatever it is, there's some part of their mind that's still in a victim mentality. They don't have complete ownership and power over themselves and what they're going to actually do in the world. Now, that doesn't mean I won't work with them. It just means I have an idea of where they are. Mm-hmm. If they say, David, listen, I don't know what it is about me, but I do know that it's me. Like something is screwed up in my head that I can't seem to get myself to do this or be effective. I know that they're in a very different place. So then that really determines where I work with them. Another question I ask them is, what's the most amount of money you've ever made? It doesn't matter to me what it is, but it really tells me where they are as far as their awareness around money. So after that, I would ask them, what happens if you don't make this change? And I really sit with them for a while with this question, because this question determines the urgency in which they're actually going to do the work, right? If they don't have a compelling reason why to do it or why not to do it, no change will ever take place at all. Mm-hmm. So I sit there with them, based on cause and effect. If you do something, there's a consequence. If you don't do something, there's also a consequence. If you don't make the change that we're talking about to go after what you really want, what is going to be the consequence? And then what does that consequence feel like? What does that mean to you in your life? Then I ask them, how serious are you about changing? Right? And I want them to be like, I want to change this more than I want to breathe. That's what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
When I get that, then that's the person that I work with.
And I think often at times, one of the problems is also self-confidence, because you're selling something and you really need to be convinced that you will deliver, and things connected to that. So how would you approach this situation?
So here's the biggest misconception about confidence. Most people think you need confidence to begin. That's not true. Confident, if you take a little child, right? A little child, when they start to do anything, they don't have any confidence.
Yeah.
They have none. They have a desire and they have faith. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The confidence comes after they repetitively begin to master whatever it is. Same with adults. But for some reason, adults get stuck in, well, I don't have the confidence to do it. I can't do it. You don't need confidence. You need faith. Confidence comes through the correct repetition. And as you begin to master whatever it is, you will build a rock solid confidence. But in the beginning, you just need a desire to do it and faith. Nobody's born knowing how to play a guitar, right? Person doesn't say, I don't have confidence, so I'm not going to pick up a guitar. You can't do anything with a guitar until you practice forever. Everything's the same way. You have to put in the time.
And what is the most important thing in your eyes when it comes to closing a deal with a client and being able to, bill more, like you say, to turn your annually into a monthly salary?
You mean to actually charge more?
Yes.
So, well, the idea first is the value there for the client. So the value is not in the product. The value is not in me. The value is in the potential outcome for the client, whatever it is. Okay. That has to be there. If that's there, you could virtually charge anything as long as you're within the value context of what it is that they can potentially get out of it. But they also have to be, like, for me to work with them in what I do, they have to be 100% in the place of they'll do exactly what I tell them to do. Like, we can talk about it, but I'm not going to argue with you. I'm not going to talk to you about getting off the couch every day. Like, I need you to show up and give it your best. But really, it's all about the value and the desire. And if the person has the urgency to do it, then you could charge whatever you want. Like, I could charge a person, I do charge people $1 million. My top program is over $1 million a year. But here's the thing: I could take somebody that's just starting out and literally charge them $1 million to become a millionaire. And here's the justification behind it. After I teach them how to do that, they don't need me anymore. Now, obviously, we're not going to do that with somebody who's just starting out because they don't have $1 million, right?
Correct. Yeah.
But if you think about it, if I could teach you how to make $1 million and it was a skill set you could learn, you don't need me after that. And you could do it every year for the rest of your life, all on your own, right? So is that worth $1 million or not?
Well, I think it depends, because it depends on what that activity would be. And the markets are also constantly changing as well.
Markets have nothing to do with it. I believe in creating your own economy.
And even if, let's say, if someone is starting out and in most cases they don't have $1 million and they don't really have a way of getting that money to pay for it.
You don't need any money. Now, I'm not talking about what I would charge. What I'm saying is that unless you're in the stock market, and even in the stock market, there's always something that is going up and down in value. But I'm talking about a traditional business. Mm-hmm. There is a way to build a traditional business in any environment. You just have to learn to think outside of the box. I'm working with people all over the world, and let's just take somebody who's in real estate. I see people that are constantly complaining that they can't sell anything right now, and I see people having record years in real estate. I see it with attorneys. I see it with other professionals. I see it with entrepreneurs who are selling basically anything you could possibly sell. I see it with restaurant owners. Like, they've innovated and figured out different ways to move their business ahead. It's really all in your head, right? If you think you can find a way. If you think you can't, then any reason will be good enough to stop you.
But sometimes I think you really want to find a way, but it's still, you're struggling to find it, even though you're trying everything to get there.
You're not trying everything. The only place struggle takes place is in your head. Here, do you know what the law of polarity is?
That you attract similar things?
No. That's a law of vibration.
Okay.
The law of polarity states that everything in the universe has an opposite and an equal and opposite. So like, here's a pen, right? The pen has a left side and a right side, an up and a down, an inside and an outside. You can't have one side without the other. If you have a desire, if you have a problem, if you have a challenge, the answer, the opposite, is also here. It's also here, no matter what it is, right? So forget the economy, forget the situation. If you have a problem, the answer to it's here. If you look at the challenges that are presented to you, it makes it very difficult to see the solution, right? But if you say, I'm just going to stay looking for the solution, forget the challenges, forget the obstacles, you will find the solution because it's here.
And how do you really find it?
What do you mean? How do you find it?
How do you find the solution? How do you change your mind to find it, or switch your perspective to not be in the box?
So here's something you could do. You could take a sheet of paper, and right at the top of it, you write down the goal, whatever it is that you want to accomplish. Just write it down, okay? And now draw a line down the center of the paper. On the left side, write the words "why I can't." Okay. On the right side, write down "how I can." Now you sit down either with yourself or with a partner, okay, and you say, okay, let's just do some free thinking. We're going to come up with every reason, everything we can think of, how we can break through this problem and achieve this goal. Every time our mind says we can't do that because of the economy or the virus or whatever, we're just going to say next. We're not going to give that any energy. No matter how stupid the answer seems, we're going to write it down as how we can. You keep doing this. Take a day, take a weekend. Write down every possibility that you could think of. Really let your mind go. Then you start, right? Pick the things that you think are the best ideas, but you go through all of them. If you go through all of them, you will find the solution to your problem. It has to be there because you're thinking on the level of the solution. Don't forget, it took Thomas Edison 10,000 attempts to create the electric light bulb, right? He never stopped. It's always here. The solution is always here. Forget obstacles. Have you ever read The Science of Getting Rich?
No.
You need to get it.
Okay.
You need to get it. Wallace Wattles, The Science of Getting Rich. You can get it online for free. It's a free download.
So what was so inspiring to you about that book that really stuck with you?
I had a lot of questions in my mind ever since I was a kid. How does the universe work? Because I was raised religious. I was raised Catholic. Even though I'm not Catholic now, I'm just spiritual. But I knew that God or spirit or something played a role in this somehow, but I didn't know how it all worked. When I read that book, it put it all into like a conceptual order in my mind that made 100% sense. Because it teaches you how to manifest regardless of what's going on in the world. And it's an old book. I think it was written in 1911, but it's a phenomenal book. And if you do exactly what it says, you'll create whatever you want.
And you mentioned manifestation. So can you give us maybe an example of what you did personally and manifested in your life?
Well, I'll tell you how I went from 50,000 a month, 50,000 a year to 50,000 a month. Okay. So I set it as a goal. The first month, I decided what I was going to do and I started doing it. At the end of the month, I wasn't even close, not even close. And I thought, what the hell? Like, how could I be? I'm not even any closer than I was the month before. So I talked to my mentor and he said to me, it's easier to earn 50,000 a month than it is to earn 50,000 a year. And I thought he was joking with me, right? And I thought, yeah, whatever. So second month, I go after it. Again, I totally failed. And I get on the phone with my mentor and I'm talking to him about it. He won't tell me how to do it. He won't. He refuses to tell me how to do it because he's trying to teach me how to think. How do you really manifest something? And he said, David, I told you it's easier to make 50,000 a month than it is 50,000 a year. So I get off the phone with him. I'm thinking it's easier, it's easier, it's easier. So I started looking at how I was doing it. And I'm like, okay, if I was to make this as easy as it could be, what would it actually look like? And I thought, well, it's easy. I would have one client for 50,000. I would sell them the first week, and then I would have the 50,000 that month. But I didn't believe I could charge 50,000 back then,
Yeah.
right? So I thought, okay, what do I believe I could do? I'm like, okay, I could do 15,000. In 2 weeks, I had done my 50.
But did you change something about your approach or about the
Yes, I made it
conversation?
easier. I made it easier. The way that I was doing it before, there was no way I would have ever hit the numbers to make 50,000 in a month. I just wouldn't have been able to do it. The whole idea was this: because most of us are raised with a value system of hard work, we don't realize that we actually take that value system and we make things hard. We
Mhm.
literally make them hard. It's part of their subconscious makeup. So we'll make it hard just to feel good about ourselves. Like, this was really hard. I worked really hard. So we will take simple things and make them hard. I run into this a lot when a person really finds their purpose in life. They'll be like, but it seems so easy. It shouldn't be that easy. I'm like, no, that's the illusion that we're raised under. Your purpose actually is easy. If you look at all of nature, nature is not hard. It's easy. It flows. It is the thing that you will probably find the easiest in life, but it'll challenge you the most. So when I realized I was making it hard, I wanted to kick myself. I was like, damn it. And I made it easy. And then once I learned that idea, it was kind of like the light bulb went on, right? Oh, it's actually the more you make, the easier it actually is. And it's 100% true.
But then the conversation that you had the first time where you sold it for 15K, was it somehow different?
No, it
And
wasn't. It was
no,
very easy, very easy. Yeah. Because I still see, I didn't go to 50K. I went to 15. I
15, yeah.
believed I could sell it at 15, right? After I did a few at 15, I then went to 50. Then I went to 100. Then I went to a million, right? So the idea is that if you can believe it, you'll be able to do it without a problem. But you have to get yourself to believe it. So you sometimes we have to do it in stages, right? Let me do 15 and get really confident in that 15. And then if I do that and everything's working well, then I'll raise it. And maybe somebody raises it to 20 or 25 or 30 or whatever. It's everybody's different. I went from 15 to 50. No, I went from 15 to 100. So that was my stage. That was my journey.
And are there any rituals that you go through every day that help you to be successful and that help you to get your mind in the right state?
No, I don't, because
No.
no, I really don't. Here's the reason why. I changed my mind 20 years ago to think the way that I want to think. I don't have to force like somebody asked me that the other day, like, what are your rituals to be grateful? I'm
Yeah.
just grateful. I changed my mind to be grateful about everything. It's not a ritual, it's a way of thinking. You only need a ritual when you're trying to make yourself do something that your mind is not doing. If you give up the way that you normally think about things and change it to successful thinking, it becomes who you are every single day. So there, as far as that goes, I did that. I did the whole ritual thing back in the day, back in the 90s. I had all these different rituals and everything. And I realized I'm not being this person. I'm acting like this person here and there, but I'm not actually being this person. So if I'm grateful in the morning, but I'm pissed off in the afternoon, that doesn't do any good, right? Now I got to go back to be grateful. Now it's stressful. It doesn't make any sense. Why not just be grateful all the time for everything? Why do I have to act grateful? And most people practice gratitude and they're not grateful at all. It's
Yeah.
like, really understand what gratitude is and become it. Become it.
But and how do you become it? Do you have any tips there? Because
Yeah, it's by understanding. It's by understanding that every single thing in your life is 100% necessary for you to be the person that you are and to be the person that you're going to become. So the good and the bad is all necessary, right? When you understand that that's part of all of your life, you can be grateful for everything. See, people get resentful because they don't understand. Something happens in their life, it hurts, they're betrayed, they're abused, somebody stole from them. and they get resentful because they don't understand what it is. Now, I'm not saying that you continue to allow those things in your life, but when you start to move to understanding, you then begin to see, oh, how did I get myself in a situation where I participated in the co creation of whatever this was? And then you can begin to change those things. So everything is for growth. And when you understand everything is for growth, even when you're going through something that's incredibly painful, like maybe a person lost a child or a parent or a loved one or something, those are very painful events. You can still be in pain, but be grateful for the experience and be grateful for having known the person, right? There's always something to be grateful for if you look at gratitude instead of pain.
Mm-hmm. And do you have any resource recommendations for people to look at when it comes to changing their mindset for an abundance mindset?
Yeah. So the number one thing a person has to do to change their mindset for an abundant mindset is to be able to trust themselves to follow through on what they say they're going to do. So I would recommend that they get The Science of Getting Rich. I would recommend that they get Alanya Van Zant's book, Trust, which teaches you how to rebuild trust with yourself. You could also do like the Four Agreements, right? The Four Agreements is a fantastic book. I think Alanya breaks down trust much deeper, right? So, and for some people, I think it's a very good thing. And then study the laws. Get Raymond Hollywell's book, Working with the Law, and really understand the laws of the universe.
Mm-hmm. Okay, amazing. Do you still have a last key takeaway, a personal insight that you would like to share that helped you grow?
Yeah. Learn who your authentic self is and be it. Don't negotiate with it. Be that person all of your life. Authentically you.
And how can people get in touch with you?
They could go to my podcast, the Successful Mind Podcast. That's the best place. Or they could go check out my website, davidneagle.com, Neagle.
Thank you so much for sharing today. And
You're
for
welcome.
and for everyone who's watching or listening, I hope that you had a lot of learnings from today. And we would love to hear from you. What was the most significant thing that you learned today? So please let us know in the comments below.